DuckTalks is part of Res TV's network of podcasts. Check out res.tv for other great podcasts.
But hey! Christmas Eve dinner will be served promptly at 8:15, followed by the annual screening of Christmas on Bear Mountain at 9:08. And I've reset the cryptid traps. Don't want another pesky sugar plum fairy infestation this year.
No! Yeah, crass commercialism, empty sentiment, and all the trappings of the holiday! And the endless monuments to that reindeer-rustling, red-suited... Who put this up? Take that, you tight traitor! Not so lively and quick now, are you? Bah-Humbug.
He said it!
It's the week of Monday, December 3rd, and you're listening to episode 52 of DuckTalks. Hey there, and welcome to DuckTalks. My name's Mitch, and I'm here once again with Pirate Steven and Josh.
Ahoy!
Hey guys.
So, fellas, are you ready for a new episode of DuckTalks?
I can't wait. It's my favorite part of the week.
Oh yeah, I can't wait either.
We had a little bit of a break. DuckTales took a break. DuckTalks took a break.
Well, we did record an interview, so I don't know if that was technically a break. Didn't get the whole week off.
That's true, but that interview was easy to edit.
That's true.
I think I spent like 25 minutes on the edit of that interview. As a matter of fact, I probably need to go back and listen to it and make sure it's not too bad. No, that's not true.
Episode 51, so it does count as an episode.
See, that's why I did it that way. But it was a great interview. We had a good time with Morgan. It was the second time we've spoken with him. For those who maybe, picked us up for the first time with this episode and you haven't listened to episode 51, it was an interview with Morgan Jekyll, and Morgan is the director of The Scrooge Mystery, which is a documentary about Don Rosa, who is a legendary comic book writer and artist who wrote Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck comics. We've been recently learning about Don Rosa and his work. We've become huge fans. It was such a pleasure to speak with Morgan again. We were going to have a great episode tonight. We've got a lot to talk about. Not a lot of news, but a lot to talk about. That's always fun. We've also got an exceptional episode of DuckTales to do a review on as well. I feel like I say this just about every new episode, but this may be my favorite so far. Before we jump into that, let's take a look at some feedback. If you'd like to reach out to DuckTalks, you can send us an email at ducktalkspod@gmail.com. And we've had a number of conversations going on through email. We've got one we'll read a little later in the show because it has to do with this week's episode of DuckTales. But we did want to take a moment to read some feedback that we received from Lily Nanette. And Lily says, "Hey, DuckTalks. My name is Lily, and I'm kind of new listener to the podcast. It's very good, by the way. Thank you, Lily. I don't know how to do this well, so I'll start with my connection to DuckTales. Finding out about the reboot led to my friends getting the theme song stuck in everyone's heads. But when it seemed to fade for everyone else, it resonated way longer for me. Fast forward to when I actually watched the show, and I had an epiphany. I played the NES game as a child. It all came flooding back to me and gave me a more nostalgic look at the show. Anyway, I just emailed to say thank you so much for being a good podcast. I have enjoyed listening so far, and I'm trying to catch up. I listen when I draw and while I am on the bus. You guys have helped me cope with all of this major nostalgia. Also, thank you a lot for the tips and tricks for merchandise and comics. Keep up the great work, fellas."
Aw, that's so nice of her. So she said
Thanks,
she's
Lily.
catching up.
Thank you, Lily, for catching up and for finding us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those emails are fun when we get something like that where someone's letting us know they're listening and, how they found the podcast. DuckTales has definitely caused a lot of nostalgia for people when they come across it. And I think it's awesome that Lily's found her podcast and enjoys it. And thank you so much for the kind words. And we feel the same way about the NES game. We have, speaking of which, was on sale recently. Hope some people picked that up.
Yeah, actually, I picked it up this week. The sale ended today, so probably not going to talk much about it, but I have it.
Yeah, we should do some playthroughs of those again. We did it last year for Extra Life, but it's a lot of fun to play, and it's a lot of fun to stream and listen to the commentary as your character dies over and over again as they're trying to fly the tailspin plane all over the place. The Sea Duck is just dying and dying.
Or when you can't manage to finish Darkwing Duck.
Oh, that was a sad moment for you.
It was a sad moment for me. I still haven't finished it.
It's a sad moment for me watching that.
We do need to do that, but maybe not all 4 games at one time. Or it's not 4 games. How many games are on there?
I think 6.
Yeah. We do need to do that.
And each one I feel like takes about 45 minutes to play through.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be
If
too
you're
hard for
doing
us
it
to
right.
set up. Yeah. We can put it on the YouTube channel.
There you go.
Well,
Did we stream it through Twitch last time?
We did. I put it on YouTube. I just apparently didn't archive it correctly because it eventually deleted. Yeah, I'm a YouTube noob. That's why I recruited you. So, Lily, we appreciate your email. It's great hearing from you. And again, if anyone else would like to shoot us an email, people send us questions, tips, a lot of the stuff that we're reporting on during the week at DuckTalks.com. We get a heads up from another listener or a fan who's letting us know that they came across it. So you can definitely reach out to us. We're always willing to read an email, and we try to respond in a timely manner. So there was one part of feedback that I left out of our recording. Mitch and Josh here, where this is Tuesday night after we recorded on Monday, climbed into bed and realized we completely forgot to talk about the Scroogeversary, something that I went on Twitter on Monday and asked people to respond to a tweet and let us know what their favorite Scrooge moment was or is. And that's all because December is known as Scrooge's anniversary. So we're here now, going to record something. We're going to talk about Scrooge's anniversary real quick, and then we're going to read probably a couple of these. We're going to do this all month long. We're probably not going to have 5 episodes the month of December, but we are going to talk about this in all of our episodes, or at least our listeners, your favorite Scrooge moments. One thing that I've been trying to search for ever since I realized Scrooge's anniversary was commonly celebrated in December was, when is it? For most characters, you can actually find a date of when their first appearance takes place. But the more and more I searched for it, I couldn't find anything giving me the exact date of Scrooge's anniversary. So I reached out on Twitter to a few people that I consider duck historians, and just simply asked, if any of them knew the date for Christmas on Bear Mountain, which is the story that Carl Barks wrote, was published, in comic form, and is known as his first appearance. And we do know that issue has the month of December on it, but I couldn't find the date anywhere. So I did get some responses, but the responses were kind of puzzling. The first person to respond was Dave DeLeese, and Dave said that he believed the date was actually November 14th of 1947, so not December. And he said that was according to Mike's Amazing World and their comic release date search. So I have never used Mike's Amazing World. I'm going to have to look at that. To back up Dave was Dan Cunningham. And Dan said that sounded right. It was probably October or early November of 47. And it was in Dale's 4-color line. So I responded, I just kind of asked, well, I'd always heard December. That's amazing. I would have never thought it was in November. And Dan clarified that it would have gone on sale in October or November to give it time on the stands up to Christmas, and the December on the cover was not when it was released, but an indicator to the newsstand vendor when to take it down by January 1st. So Christmas on Bear Mountain, not in December, most likely October or November.
Well, you know what? Sometimes when I was younger doing comics, I would see some comics where it would be the following month's issue and it was out the prior month. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's just something as well they did back then that, like you said, it could have been something that they took down in December at the end of Christmas or end of the year and replaced it with the next month's issue.
Yeah, we're in a totally different world nowadays because comics aren't on regular newsstands anymore. And I don't know that I've ever paid attention, or not ever. I don't know that I've recently paid attention to the date, if there's even a month on the comics that I'm buying. But after they said that, and after I thought about it, it did ring true to my memory of collecting comics in the late 80s and early 90s. I feel like I knew this in my past, and it's something I've forgotten about. So I think it's interesting, and yet Scrooge, December 1st is when the majority of people that I saw online, it's kind of like the consensus that December 1st is when we celebrate Scrooge's anniversary. Christmas on Bear Mountain takes place in story on December 24th and December 25th, because the story has two parts, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So it's real interesting that this comic actually probably came out before December. We're still going to celebrate Scrooge's anniversary this month. We're going to celebrate it with all of our listeners and all of our fans of the website. We're planning on being very Scrooge-centric and heavy on our content at DuckTalks.com. But we do want to take just a moment and take a look at our listeners' tweets and responses to our call for their favorite Scrooge moment, and we asked everyone to hashtag this with Scroogeversary. And I'm not going to spell it for you. You can look it up on our Twitter account. I just did Scroogey with versary. It seemed like the right way to do it, the right way to do this. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the first one, Josh, and then I'll let you take a look at a couple. One of the first ones we got was from Brian Danger, and you guys have, if you've been listening to the podcast, you've heard us mention Brian a few times. He did the amazing artwork on our new logo and character designs. We're very thankful for that. And Brian included a link to YouTube, which has Scrooge's introduction into the Kingdom Hearts franchise in Birth by Sleep. And so there's a cutscene that he included. And so that is apparently his favorite Scrooge moment of all time. I've never experienced it other than I did watch the video. I guess maybe it had been a while since Scrooge had been in anything, so it was just really cool playing this game for him to show up. Never played Kingdom Hearts yet, so... Yeah,
I haven't either, so I missed the Kingdom Hearts train.
Yeah. Still considering getting caught up. Pirate tells me just jump into 3 and forget about the first 2, or the first 13, or however many they are. But he did also say that I'd probably want to go back and play them after I got done with 3.
Well, actually, this is one of my favorite Scrooge moments, too, and it's actually in the new 2017 series, and it was submitted by Diamond Song 42, and they put a gif of Scrooge saying, "Game night? Game night! Game night!" I actually love that moment a lot in the show because I love board games, and so seeing that Scrooge loves board games, it was awesome for me and made me really, really happy.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of that episode, and a great kickoff. I've made it known. I love that episode this season, and that moment was hilarious. I was rolling, listening to Scrooge carry on about how excited he was. That competitive nature that he has is made for a lot of great laughs in that episode, especially when he grabs Donald after. Mm-hmm. I do see one on here that we're going to wait on, but I'm going to make mention that Quivering Quack. We're going to hold off. I went ahead and read your moment that you shared. It's from one of Don Rosa's comics. I haven't gotten to that. I believe that's in volume 10 of the Fantagraphics volume. So I'm going to save that until I've read volume 10. I'm reading volume 9 this week, so maybe I'll go ahead and do it next week. But thanks for sending it.
So the other one we have is by Joanna 310964337. Long numbers. But anyways,
hi, Joanna.
Yeah, hey, Joanna. Joanna wrote, the part when he says, "Bah-Humbug," reminiscence to Ebenezer Scrooge line. Also, the part when Webby got so excited for Scrooge saying that line.
Yes. This episode has so many Easter eggs, and we're going to talk about a lot of them on this episode of Duck Talks, and this was one of my favorites. I love Mickey's A Christmas Carol, and having him say Bah-Humbug was great, and then having Webby kind of fangirl over it made it that much more amazing. Loved it.
So when they were saying, like, oh, they were going to haunt another Scrooge, was that also a tie to...
Yeah.
Okay, Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Yeah, they were looking for Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah.
Who's not the same character.
No.
They're they have some similarities, but they're different characters. I was explaining it to the girls while we were watching it the night before, because Donald Duck is Frank. Mickey is Cratchit. Was it Bob Cratchit? And then you've got, I can't remember Daisy's character's name, but she plays somebody else. Mm-hmm. And, Scrooge has the name Scrooge, but he is Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah.
Which we know is not Uncle Scrooge because he's Scrooge McDuck. So they are different characters, and I explained it to the girls. It's like they're putting on the play, and they're just the actors playing the parts. But in the show in 2017, if we still want to call it that, in the new DuckTales, Ebenezer Scrooge was the other Scrooge. But they felt like Scrooge McDuck was more fun, so they came back to him. I think that was cool.
Yeah. Even
though they're slightly different, they're not this. They're the same ghosts, but they're not played by the same characters because those were other Disney characters. Pete was one of them. The Ghost of Christmas Future. The giant was, what's his name? I can't think of the giant's name. Was the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Yeah.
The Beanstalk Giant. And I know his name because my kids watched Mickey's Clubhouse, and they say his name on that. And then Jiminy Cricket was Ghost of Christmas Past. So they kind of created characters similar to those, but they're still very different. Instead of a cricket, it's a grasshopper. Well, thank you everyone who sent us your tweets with your favorite Scrooge moment. Like I said, we plan on talking about these all month long. Please send those to us. You can tweet at us, or you can simply just tweet using the hashtag Scroogeversary and Scroogeversary. Sorry, it's hard to say actually. It looks a lot better as a hashtag. But if you use that, I'll be reading it, and as long as it's about your favorite Scrooge moment, we'll read it. Because we're not the only ones using the hashtag, apparently. Well, let's take a look at the news for this week. It's getting kind of cold outside, fellas. I'm afraid we got another hiatus on our hands.
Hey, we survived the hiatus of 2017-18, and we will survive this one.
I need to go back and look. I'm not sure if we've reached the point yet where we have had more episodes of Duck Talks with DuckTales episodes than those that were during hiatus.
A lot of people found us during that last hiatus because they were looking for news on the new show.
Yeah, we will definitely stay up to date with the news on when the show will be back. There's no word at the moment. We've not seen anything, and not for lack of asking. There's a lot of people asking online if we can get any idea of when the show will be back. Last year, the show went on hiatus before December. It came back for the episode The Impossible Summit of Mount Everest, and then it went back on hiatus until summer. So it was a very long hiatus. I don't think we'll experience that this year, but we are going to see a break. I honestly, and this is just my guess, I don't think we get an episode for the rest of December. I think we have, you were saying earlier, Pirate, that we're like a quarter of the way or a third of the way through the season?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we heard there was going to be 24 episodes. Mm-hmm. And 6 of them have been released, so I believe that's a quarter.
Yeah. So we're pretty good chunk through. We could stand a little bit of a break and then come back. You know, it wasn't bad having episodes during the summer last year.
I don't think it's going to happen the same way, though. We had such a big break in season 1 where they kind of fit the rest of season 1 into summer. I have a feeling that we're going to get episodes in the beginning of the year, maybe not January, but definitely either the end of winter or beginning of spring.
Yeah, that hiatus had a purpose. It was for the transition to the Disney Channel, which was very successful, in my opinion, and well warranted the hiatus. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be as long this time, and I can't wait to see what season 2 is going to bring when it starts up again.
Well, we've got a lot left in season 2 that we already know about from San Diego Comic-Con.
I'm friends with Tad Stones on Facebook, and he said that he got to screen some new stuff, and that's just going to blow our mind. And he keeps a tight lip on what he when he gets invited to do fun stuff like that. But I totally trust him, and the fact that his mind has been blown, I think I can't wait, and I hope it's Darkwing Duck related.
For them to invite him there, I would think it would be something Darkwing Duck related.
Well, him and Frank seem to be really good friends, and they both have a lot of respect for each other. And Tad plugs the show everywhere he goes. He's a huge fan of the DuckTales show. Yeah, I guess that's what gets you invited. You think we'll ever get invited?
I hope so. That's one of my goals.
I mean, Josh
we're
is right
open.
there.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I've considered calling and just seeing if we can get Josh in, just to indicate whether or not I can go whenever I visit California.
Right?
But, you know, one thing about them bringing Tad in, you know, we think about Tad Stones with Rescue Rangers and Darkwing Duck, but he also worked on DuckTales, the 87 DuckTales. So when they bring him in, it's because he's one of the old hat. I don't want to say that. Pirate, this week you wrote a blog at DuckTalks. I know some of the images that we saw at San Diego Comic-Con that kind of leaked out had some information that we've seen and some information that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, at 2018 San Diego Comic-Con, there was a big DuckTales panel, probably even bigger than the previous one because more and more people are discovering the show. And Frank and company had a really great time, and they showed off a bunch of screenshots or stills from season 2 of things for people to be looking forward to. And some of the stuff we've already seen in this first 6 episodes, but there were a couple of stills that we have not yet seen in episodes. So that gives us just a little bit of taste of what might be coming when the show starts up again in 2019.
One of those images had Webby with Lena, which could be important for season 2. We all hope so. And there was another character who has been confirmed online to be a hummingbird. Like the specific species of hummingbird was brought up. And I think it was Frank was like, you've got it. That's exactly the bird we were thinking of. But we don't have a name or anything.
Well, we haven't had a Webby-centric episode yet in season 2, and I was like, "What season are we in?" In season 2,
kind of hard to tell sometimes.
Haven't had that really great big Webby centric episode, kind of like the Gummy Bears episode. And this is, it seems like from this shot that they had in their head, they had Lena, so Lena might be making a comeback, Webby and her new friend, and they take on Dijon, who is the bad guy from, or one of the bad protagonists, one of the bad villains from the DuckTales movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp. So that's fun to get that kind of reference in there from another nostalgic classic DuckTales moment of Dijon.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see that character.
He was also in the actual original show at the very end in, I think, 2 different episodes.
Oh.
The very last, there was an episode where there was the golden goose or golden chicken. I think it was a golden chicken or a golden goose. I don't know. There's a golden chicken or goose where he steals, and the goose, when it puts his nose on something, it turns it to gold. And
I remember that one.
Yeah. And then the whole world got turned to gold because I think Flintheart got a hold of it.
Well, that makes sense.
My man.
Yeah, I think it was Flintheart.
We started this past weekend our rewatch of DuckTales 87 because I feel like I have forgotten as much about 87 as I remember.
Yeah, so there's 100 episodes of DuckTales 87, so that's a long rewatch.
Well, I only get to watch 70 something of them because I can't get a hold of that 4th set.
That's true, and we'll talk about that a little later. But what other screenshots from San Diego Comic-Con were there?
So there was the one with. Oh, go ahead.
They had a Glad-Year blimp.
Mm-hmm.
What is that from? Sorry,
we have no idea.
I think it's Gladstone.
Okay. Sure, it's Gladstone, but
okay. That makes sense.
Another Gladstone episode would be great. I know he has a large fan base.
We've been we've been reading a lot of Don Rosa comics. I bet he wins some sort of prize, and it ends up being a Glad-Year blimp.
It also has got a 4-leaf clover on there for luck.
Maybe there's an episode with Gladstone starting his own company. It's some sort of advertising company. Or tires. Maybe he just makes tires.
and then we gotta have a couple more screenshots from San Diego Comic-Con that we haven't seen yet. One of those being actually a couple of them that seem kind of related, and
possibly.
It's Western Scrooge or Klondike Scrooge with Goldie. We don't know if it's Fenton or a relative of Fenton, but he's in there, and also Gyro Gearloose is in the same picture. And it's funny because he's not in any Western attire, but the other ones are. So maybe it's either Gyro doesn't want to play along with the others, or he is the one that goes back in time to Western time. So
yeah,
we have that shot.
We were discussing this some with some people in our Discord. Alex was in there, and she was pointing out the Fenton-like character's eyebrows. She's a huge Gyro fan, so she's excited about this possibly being a Gyro-centric episode. But we were talking about this character and how he does resemble Fenton, but at the same time, you could see some differences, specifically those eyebrows. And we got to talking. I'm thinking maybe this is Sheriff Crackshell. This is going to be, either Fenton's grandfather or father. And of course, we've got a younger Goldie and Scrooge, Prospector Scrooge. So it'll be a fun story. I'm looking forward to seeing some more stories with them set in the past.
Yeah, and it looks like Gyro might make a wooden version of the Gizmo Duck suit in that one, because that was another screenshot that got a lot of applause at Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm. And then Rocker Duck.
Rocker Duck, who is from the comics and one of Scrooge's biggest rivals from the comics. So that is and he was in Western attire as well. Yeah. So it could be that those 3 images are from the same episode. We'll have to stay tuned. Well,
I tell you, the most disappointing image at this point is the Beakley and Darkwing attire, because I was positive that was going to end up being a Halloween episode. But
now maybe it's a Darkwing episode. We don't know, so it might not be that disappointing.
what if Beakley's a huge fan of Darkwing too?
I mean, who's not? Who isn't? I mean, come on.
See, I still have hope that what they're going to do is that although there was a show about Darkwing, it was all kind of a way to hide him in the open, and he still was a spy. And so she's a big fan of him because she knows about the spy side of him. Or not a spy, but he was a real hero. Like a spy. Something like that.
Or maybe she's just trying to go in disguise somewhere.
No, it's important. Darkwing is real.
Well, it could be Scrooge's next birthday party. That's her disguise or her costume for the party.
We now know that Beakley likes a good party.
She can party down like no one's business.
Especially when she gets an opportunity to start a conga line.
And then our final image is for Bubba the Cave Duck.
Bubba Trubba.
So that's exciting. Love me some dinosaur stories. So at some point, maybe the family or Gyro goes to the prehistoric times, and maybe Bubba stays, maybe Bubba goes. We don't know.
I think we're gonna get
Did you mean for that to rhyme like it did?
I did. I'm a poet. Come on, you know it.
Do you think we're gonna get Tootsie? His Triceratops?
Oh yeah.
We might get some Tootsie.
If you get Bubba, you get Tootsie.
We know Bubba's skeleton is in Dewey Tonight, so I don't know how that's. I don't know if Bubba's going to see that skeleton or not. Could have some Back to the Future moment.
What do you think about? So we got Bubba here. We just finished Fantagraphics Don Rosa Library Volume 8. Actually, I just finished it because Pirates ahead and Josh is behind. But I just finished it. I'm behind too because it was supposed to be last week. But Escape from Forbidden Valley. What if they do a version of Escape from Forbidden Valley and there's cave ducks?
I could see it happening. The creators and everybody we're working on the show seems to love throwing in comic references here and then. I think it makes the show that more authentic. Mm-hmm. So maybe.
Be cool. Because there's already a lot of time travel indicated with a few of the images and stuff that's been talked about. So I was just trying to think what's another way. And in the Duck universe, there has been a Forbidden Valley which has dinosaurs. If you've never read the story, it's a great story. You should read it. Dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures, insects and everything. So it would be a great story to a great place to have that story.
I just think it's funny though, like the original Bubba, Gyro had that helicopter, time traveling helicopter that was powered by popsicles, and I could just imagine Louie eating one of his popsicles. I think that'd be funny. So that's all the images we have from Comic-Con, and that's only just a taste of what I think we'll see in when the show comes back. There's so much to go over. We haven't even hit the Della Arc story that we got a little bit better taste of from the last Christmas episode. So yeah, I can't wait. The one thing we haven't seen that I thought we would have seen by now is a return of Magica.
Mm-hmm. Or Lena.
Or Lena, but more Magica. And I want to see Magica team up with Glomgold at some point.
I think we're gonna get more of her, especially when the episode of Lena comes around. I think they're kind of connected in some way, so hopefully.
I got to see her on the screen again because I can't. I got to get used to her not being green. That was a shocker at the end.
It was a shocker. I still prefer the green. Everybody hates me for it. What do you think? What do you think about this? So in the first season, most of the villains were more comic relief than actual threat until you got to Magica, and then Magica definitely was a threat in season 1. And in this season, we've already set things up to where Glomgold's going to be the threat. Even though he's a lot of comic relief, he's going to be the threat. So do you think they double down and Magic is a huge threat again, or you think she just shows up in a one-off episode where she's maybe a little more comic relief?
I think she's going to be comic relief. I think Mark Beeks is going to be, if they need a darker villain, he could always show up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have high hopes for Mark Beeks? I'm hoping they're going to do something with him at some point.
Beeks is a fun character. He's very annoying, and I think that's what I like about his character. I think it's a good role. So you brought up, that Della kind of showed up. We talked about it already on this episode. She kind of shows up a lot in the latest episode of DuckTales, but it indicated that storyline is going to start rolling again, or it may have. Do you think we get a few more episodes before we get back in that story, or you think when we come back we might jump into it? I know there's nothing right now to indicate one way or the other. There's no episode descriptions or titles or anything.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be maybe another 6 episodes before we see the rescue or the main space Della story.
Yeah, but
I think it's funny how Dewey got in so much trouble for not telling his brothers about the whole Spear of Selene and that whole story. Like, how's he going to keep inside that he hung out with Mom and hugged Mom?
Right.
from the two of them again. So that's going to be funny to see how that gets string along the rest of the season.
Well, we could talk on and on about Last Christmas, and we're going to, but let's cover Duck merch, and we'll get back into Last Christmas. We've got we got about 3 items here to talk about. The first one is a mystery. Amazon.com is showing a DuckTales collection 4-pack. It is listed on the website with, is it up for pre-order? Yes, it's pre-ordered, $19.99. This title will be released on January 20th of 2019. Now, we've confirmed there's other releases on that date as well. Disney Home Entertainment is going to be releasing a lot of Blu-rays and DVDs or sets during that time. But that's really all we have from this.
It does say it's a 4-pack.
Right.
Which is interesting because we know there's 4 volumes in the 100-episode set of DuckTales. So, but though, and descriptions could sometimes be wrong, but it says it's only 1 disc. So,
right.
Who knows what is right? Best Buy also has listed this Mysterious DuckTales collection as well. So hopefully we get some more information soon because it's next month.
Do we know if the volume 4 of the 87 show, is that on 1 disc or is it multiple discs? I don't know that I've seen.
We do not know. It's my guess that because it's DVD, it's not Blu-ray or anything. I would guess it's at least 3 disc.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird because it says it's a 4-pack.
I went ahead and pre-order it. The cool thing with Amazon is you don't have to pay until it's actually shipped. So I know that more information will be between now and then. Mm-hmm. I also like the pre-order price guarantee. So it's the retail listed price is $19.99, but it's probably going to debut at maybe $15 or even less than that. So
right.
I figured I'd get my pre-order in and I can change it up later on.
I pre-ordered it as well. So we'll find out.
And I have volumes 1, 2, and 3 of, I know you do as well, Mitch. And Josh, you probably have them. Do you have the series?
No, I have Dark Wings, but I don't have the series.
This is perfect for you then, if this is what we hope it is.
Yeah.
And we hope it's all 4 volumes of DuckTales in one nice package.
Yeah. I'm reading some descriptions on Amazon of the volume 4 that they came out, and they're saying that there's 3 discs in that volume.
Yeah.
4.
I don't know. Maybe it's, and there's nothing to indicate that it's 87 DuckTales either.
Right. The only thing we made it not think it was the new stuff is because it said 4-pack, and currently there's only been 2 DVD releases for the new stuff.
Yeah, would they do so? We've got 2, and they're kind of random because the first one, it was just Woo, the premiere, and then the second one was the adventures, the globetrotting adventures. So it's a bunch of random episodes, but there was enough in that season to possibly put the rest of the episodes on 4 discs. Would they do that? Would you end up with a three, the other 2, and then now this 4-pack? It's possible. It'd be a great
we'll
price.
Find out soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I already own them.
And the other sets that Disney Home Video was releasing that day was a Freaky Friday collection set, which there's been 3 Freaky Friday movies in Disney's catalog. A new one that was on the Disney Channel, and then the Lindsay Lohan one in the original. So that's a package deal that they're releasing that day as well. And the other one was, I believe, a Kim Possible movie set.
Which is getting a reboot. Or is that a movie?
That's going to be a live action
show
movie that's being released at some point.
I'm sorry, was it a movie or a show?
It's going to be a movie.
Okay. Interesting. So really not anything to indicate there what it could be.
No. Just letting you know what's coming out.
Yeah, we'll be watching for it. Let's see. Other things in Duck merch. We have a Goofy Movie ornament. I thought this was very cool. Unexpected. I thought the ornaments were all out for this year.
Well, this is a Disney. This seems to be a Disney Parks release.
Oh.
That's why if you go on, it is available on Shop Disney. I believe it's $21.99 as opposed to the Shop Disney or Disney Store related ornament releases, which usually you can pick them up on sale for between $10 and $15.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I saw this in the store, 12 Days of Christmas at Disney Springs, and has Goofy and Max, and you could tell it is from the Goofy movie era because of what Goofy is wearing, as well as Max is the more older version of Max, and he's wearing his baggy jeans.
Mm-hmm. Instead of the shorts with the stripe.
Right. Yeah, and someone asked me a question of how I knew it was a Goofy movie and not Goof Troop. I would have loved it either way if it was Goof Troop or Goofy movie, but when I Googled the images just to refresh my memory, I did not realize how younger of a character Max is in the Goof Troop series as compared to when he is in the Goofy movie.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a lot younger. They did make him short on this ornament, though. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
So, kind of could be both, but it is definitely the clothing from a Goofy movie.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. A cool new ornament to put on a tree because of course, that DuckTales ornament. Still need to pick it up, but that's a cool new release for this year. Thinking what a Disney afternoon tree would be so awesome if we could get some more ornaments from that era.
There were Chippendale. They had a series of ornaments that are bells this year, and Chippendale are there was a release in this year's
Chippendale
ornaments.
had a lot of merchandise as well in the Christmas store. They had these really cool Chippendale nutcrackers, which when you think of nutcrackers, that actually makes a lot of sense to have them represented. Mm-hmm. And a lot of ornaments, but nothing in their Rescue Rangers attire. I'm hoping next year is the year of Rescue Rangers, since we know that there will be more Rescue Rangers Funko Pops, and we're always hoping to hear more news of that Rescue Rangers movie.
Speaking of which, that reminds me, I don't think we got to talk about this in the last episode. Since we recorded, I believe Disneyland has announced they're doing a 90s theme night, and there's a lot of Disney afternoon stuff going on.
Yeah, they're going to be doing, it's called Disney After Dark, and I believe it goes from a specific time, goes from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. And so it's like after the park closes, so it's a special event that you have to get a special pass for. And the date that it's going to be on is March 7th, 2019. And I'm really hoping to go, but it's going to be $99 a person. And but there's going to be a lot of cool things that I kind of searched the website to see what they're going to be providing at this event. And according to the website, it says there's going to be exclusive firework extravaganza. And all it says about that is it says, behold an amazing pyrotechnical spectacle that lights up the night by paying tribute to the era. So it's probably music from the different shows. And the next thing that's on the event list is Say Cheese. It says get jiggy with it. Take in some sweet decor and pose for photographs against a throwback theme backdrop from 90s Disney movies and shows. Now, in the picture on the website, it shows Darkwing Duck in a atmosphere character dressed up. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that means we're going to get at least Darkwing Duck and some of the other main characters over at Disneyland this year for this event. Let's see. It says rare character encounters. It says hobnob with beloved Disney characters, including some from the Disney Afternoon as well as 90s features films during the ultimate blast from the past. So it could be actual feature films characters there as well. Off the hook entertainment. So you bust a move to pre-Y2K tunes, from live performances to a total fly musical cruise on the Mark Twain riverboat. And then there's Slammin' 90s swag, collect an Indiana Jones Dakota card. Oh, I actually have one of those. And a Disney Afternoon Avenue stamp map, which, from what I've seen before for the maps like that, they have you go to certain locations and you can just get a stamp of that you went to that spot. I don't know if you get anything when you do the entire thing, but sometimes you get like stickers or something.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time. Like it almost sounds like the fan days that they had in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's going to be special merchandise. And then they're telling you to dress your 90s best. So they want you to dress up 90s.
I really love that they're doing this. This is exciting. I hope you get an opportunity to go. It reminds me of back in Dragon Con, Tad Stones was on a panel that I got to attend, and he was asked a question about why Disney hasn't done more with the Disney Afternoon in the past, and he was explaining that Disney television animation was viewed very differently back in the 90s than it is today. And what's changed is that today the people who are making decisions grew up with the Disney Afternoon, or not making decisions. Let me back up. The people involved in the creative process grew up with the Disney Afternoon. So there's that nostalgia factor for those who are creating things. And it sounds like that's happening, with fan days and with this, where people, realize that there is a base that will come out for stuff like this. Man, I hope this thing sells out and is crazy and comes over here to Disney World, because I'm more likely to make it to Disney World than I am Disneyland. But this sounds awesome. Road trip pirate?
Yeah. I'll if you want to go to Orlando, I'll go with you to that.
I got to drive to Orlando first.
Yeah, I mean, they used to have like Pirates of the Caribbean events, Haunted Mansion events where tied into merchandise and entertainment for those two themes. I've been to those type of events and they've been a blast. We haven't had that many like themed events specific to that at Walt Disney World, except for like pin events. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see a 90s or 80s or something event come to Florida. But I hope Josh gets to go.
Mm-hmm. Now with that, because I just recently learned this, so I'm not going to assume that everybody knows this. With that $100 ticket or $99, however much it was, is that one of those events where you would be able to come in at like 4:00 in the 4 p.m. and then stay till the park closes and then further, or is that something where you wouldn't be able to show up until, I don't remember what the time was, 7 p.m. or whatever?
That's a good question. I think you can come a little early. Judging by what I've seen in the past is they give you a special wristband, and then they start not letting people into the park without a wristband at a certain point. So I think they do let you in a few hours early, but I wouldn't say it's going to be like the entire day.
Right. Hey, we've got one more item in Duck Merch, and that is a Disneyland Festival of the Holidays pin, and it looks like we've got some familiar characters here.
Yeah, I saw this on Twitter earlier, and it was a special pin for the... Oh, shoot, my thing is closed. Hold on.
Okay. Candlelight
Do you hear that car
processional.
revving in the background?
Is that what that was? I thought it was the dog.
No, it's the okay. Okay, they turned it off. Okay, you can cut that out. Let me start
Okay.
over. Yeah, I saw this earlier on Twitter. It's a limited edition. It says Festival Holidays for 2018 for the Candlelight Procession. I don't know if they still have them at Disneyland. I'm going to be going there probably on Thursday. So when it gets released, I'll be checking it out and see if it's still available. And it's probably something that's going to be only there for a little bit. And it's got Huey doing Louie and Donald doing. Oh, they're playing Is it trumpets? Is that what those are?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trumpets.
Yeah, Michael and Sarah from It's a Duck Blur will like this pin because it's got a nice duck stack on it.
By duck stack, do you mean Huey, Dewey, and Louie on top of each other?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. No, not like that. You guys are ready for an episode review, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm not. I'm pulling up the randomizer right now.
Oh shoot! I haven't gotten one together.
It's okay. You know it's going to be
I
me.
had one last time, but then you.
No, you didn't have one last time. That was the whole reason why I did it. You said I'll do it. And I was like, no, I got it ready.
See, I said I'll do it because I had one ready.
Oh, well, you didn't tell me that. All right, I've got between 1 and 99. No, here we go. 1 and 3. I'm gonna test it.
3.
Here, I'm gonna test it. I got 2. I got 2.
1.
I got 2. I got 3. I got 1. I got 2. So see, it's random. All right. I didn't hear what you guys called.
3.
I called 1.
3 and 1. So that leaves me with 2. It's 1.
Oh. All right. Let me get my timer out.
Yep.
3 never gets picked. That's why I like picking that one.
I thought it was going to be 2.
I thought it was going to be 2 as well.
I thought it was going to be whatever I ended up with.
Right.
We need to get the lyrics to the 12 Days of Christmas by Launchpad McQuack, and maybe you can just sing that.
I know some of it from watching it once or twice.
Oops,
But...
forgot the 9th one.
All right, we ready?
Yep.
Am I ready?
Yes, you are. You are ready to
All
go.
right. All right, here we go. Scrooge is being a bah-humbug and doesn't like Christmas, but then secretly loves Christmas and goes back in time and visits the most amazing Christmas party of all time. Huey and Louie stay back, and Dewey goes back in time with Scrooge and sees his mom and Uncle Donald, stops a Wendigo, finds out it's one of the 3 spirits, and then they go back into the future, and we see Della. How's that?
Boom. What's your time? That sounded good.
Yeah, it was like 29, 30 seconds.
Nice work.
Sweating over here.
This really was one of my favorite episodes. It's going to rank high.
Yeah,
so
I'm
far.
surprised we haven't heard more from you of Colin, that you the ghost were Scrooge's frat buddy friends.
Oh, that was the last episode. I crowed.
You called that.
And I love how they did it in this episode because they really are like college buddies. I mean, they're not, but the way they act with one another, like Christmas present, it keeps, giving Christmas future a hard time about being dead. And he keeps saying this party's as dead as he is. And at one point he says something and he tackles him.
Well, he's just jealous because Beakley's more attracted to death.
How about that Miss Beakley in this episode? She's a party animal, apparently.
It's good to see that her fun side. I like when they're cheering 22, and then she's dancing. But this episode had a ton of Easter eggs and fun stuff for people to discover. We'll have a blog out on that at some point this month, detailing all of the Easter eggs. But it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, we actually got an email asking us about Easter eggs. There's just so many. And Frank told us, he told everyone on social media that this is probably the heaviest. This has probably got more Easter eggs than any other episode before it. And he should know because he wrote this episode. This episode was written by Frank Angonez. Storyboards were by Jean-Sebastian Duclos, Sam King, and Jason Reister. I believe I'm saying that right. And then it was directed by Jason Zurich. Great episode. I've already said that. I'm going to say that again. Easter eggs. Let's jump into Easter eggs. I want to make sure we're always talking about who worked on the episodes. We had an email. I'm trying to pull it up. I'm buying time. It's not working. We had an email from One John Jedi. And John says, how many Easter eggs did y'all notice in the last Christmas episode? The one that stood out to me the most was the character Rut Bettler that looked like Clark Gable with the square rock that he found in Peru. A callback to the old Carl Barks issue that I think was called Lost in the Andes. Yes, that was a callback to that story. There was a couple of stories, I believe, because there was a return. I think Barks did the original, and then Rosa did a sequel to it. But they were eggs. John's first question. No, we haven't counted them yet, but we've been talking about them ever since we all saw the episode. But yeah, the square rocks in the original stories were square eggs. So we're kind of curious why that change was made. Maybe it's going to be part of the story later.
In the Lost in the Andes comic, it was originally they were rocks, and Donald Duck just got a job at the museum, and he was told to dust the rocks, and so he starts dusting these rocks, and he accidentally drops one and discovers it's an egg.
Oh,
so they actually thought they were rocks at first.
Nice. Okay, I obviously haven't gotten through the Carl Barks library yet. I'm on Don Rosa. I didn't know that. That's awesome. So, and yeah, it does look like Clark Gable. I recognize the character looked like someone as well. Yeah, that's a great Easter egg. And then he also asked about the hiatus. We already talked about that. We're not sure. But man, there were so many Easter eggs everywhere. I mean, of course, we had the ones that we had already discussed with the ghosts and the characters that they're reminiscent of and reminding us of. I love that part where they tell Dewey that they accidentally haunted Scrooge's house and then realized he was more fun, and so they've stuck with him all these years.
Dewey, meet the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. Years ago, they accidentally haunted my home.
Accidentally?
Yeah, we were looking for a different Scrooge, but your uncle was way more fun.
But you hate Christmas.
That's a bit of an act. I have so many responses.
And when he walks in that room and Scrooge is chugging and he throws the pitcher down, it was great.
Scrooge! 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 Oh my! What a Oh, man!
And of course, Scrooge does his famous Bah-Humbug, which was really funny, seeing reactions from Webby. Oh my God, he did it.
Yeah. And that whole setup with the Santa Claus, we finally get an idea of what Santa Claus, because we've seen one picture that Webby drew, but we get another indication of what Santa Claus looks like. But when he steps up there and he accidentally hits it, and he's like, "Who put this here?" That was a great moment.
So Santa Claus is actually a polar bear.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah,
They
since he's
can't
up in
all
the
be
North Pole.
they can't all be dog people, I don't guess, in this.
So I thought another, I wouldn't say Easter egg, but another great tribute to the fans was having Russi Taylor do the voice of young Donald.
It was amazing.
It was an amazing moment for the show, and I know everybody that are fans of classic DuckTales appreciate that, because she was the voice of so many characters from the original DuckTales, including the nephews and Webby. And yeah, it's great to hear her voice again on this show.
Uncle Donald?
Who are you? How much did you hear? Did you like it? Answer me!
Oh, my name is Bluey, your 15th step cousin on your great-grandmother's niece's side from Canada, eh?
Oh, this is the most confusing family.
Yeah, her voice is so iconic for those characters. I didn't tell my wife that she was going to be voicing Donald, and she instantly was like, "Hey, that's the same voice from Huey, Dewey, and Louie in the original." It's like, yeah, it's pretty awesome, huh? So it's just such iconic to have her as the voice actress for Donald. It was a really good treat.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool, Grunge Donald, and as we saw, they had the Weezer poster and the Nirvana Nevermind poster. I thought that was hysterical, and yeah, and one thing that could have put it over the top for me even more was if it said the Wendigo, if it was Krampus. I'm a big Krampus fan. I wish I would have. Wish that would have been Krampus.
Did you guys see the tweet that Frank had, I think it was today, about their inclusion of the Wendigo?
Yeah.
I saw it.
Where he said that Matt, when they pitched it, Matt was like, "Oh, and that way he can be saying, 'Where'd he go?'" And they were like, "Oh, that's brilliant. We didn't even think of that."
What I want to know is if Steve's going to be doing a Donald's Cribs blog entry.
Yeah, Donald and Della. Now, Sam King has posted some images on the production of the episode, and she's got some stuff labeled on there.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the assist, Sam.
Yeah, because we've been talking about that giant gold wheel ever since Saturday.
Yeah, it looked like something from Son of the Sun.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Did she list what it was?
It's a
Aztec gold wheel.
Which
wasn't Aztec Sunstone.
Yeah, couldn't it be from Son of the Sun? I think it's possible.
It says Aztec Sunstone.
So that was cool. But my favorite Easter egg, it was the fact that Scrooge took out the Wendigo with his NES DuckTales pogo stick cane move on top of his head, that's pretty much how you defeated an enemy in DuckTales NES. So that I loved when I saw that. Frank had promised us before the end of the year we would see a pogo stick cane, and it happened.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that first stood out to me was I think it was right after the square rocks was the captain, and I messaged Pirate, and I was like, "Hey, this guy's from 87 DuckTales, right?" I can't remember his name, but it was a character that stood out. Like I can't remember his episode, but I knew he was a character in the 87 show.
Yeah, it was Captain Toot Toot was his name.
Okay.
And he was in an episode where I believe Scrooge's ships kept disappearing, and they needed to figure out what was going on, and he was the only captain available. And when they went to where the ships were disappearing, there was this big like seaweed like area that was catching all the ships, and they kept catching ships, and they got stuck there, and they were like, not pirates, but people who were stuck there kind of took over and were kind of for a long time, and making them work and try to get out of there or something like that. But he was that's the episode he was in.
I love that they pull some of these characters, and those Beagle Boys looked familiar too. The ones that show up and crash the party.
Yeah,
Blackheart.
Yeah, Bugle Beagle for sure was in the original.
Yeah, they all look familiar because you had the 3 main Beagles in the 87, but they were always bringing in Beagles that specialized in whatever they needed. And so we saw some of those in the episode. That was great. So they're like they're possibly the parents of the current Beagles, right? Could be.
But yeah, there was Babyface was one of them. Bugle. I forget what the other one was.
I liked when Scrooge is walking into the mansion because they show up at Scrooge's mansion to crash that party, Scrooge and his ghost buddies, and he walks past himself, and young Scrooge says "old me," and old Scrooge says "young me," and they walk right past each other like nothing's going on. So this is something that's normal for even young Scrooge.
Well, they said time-traveling relatives was only the 4th weirdest thing on Christmas.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I like
Della
the line where
that.
Dewey wants to tell Della what happens to her in the future, and Donald's like, haven't you seen any movie?
You're a relative from the future, aren't you?
What? No.
Please, we're the Duck family.
This is only like the 4th weirdest thing that's happened to us on Christmas.
Okay, well, I gotta warn you about what's gonna happen in the future.
No! Keep your mouth shut!
Can't warn us about our future. You'll disrupt the time stream.
Haven't you ever seen any movie?
Oh, yeah.
Stay here. We'll go get Uncle Scrooge to take care of the beast.
I didn't know if there was any like direct quote that was coming from Back to the Future, but I did think of Back to the Future when they got to that point.
So when Dewey hugs her, because she tells him, you can't tell me about the future, and he hugs her. Do you guys think, we know that at the beginning of this episode, it shows him sitting there holding a picture of Donald and Della and the 3 eggs, and Scrooge and the 3 eggs. And then at the end of the episode, when we see Della back on the moon, she's holding that same picture. Do you think he gave her that picture? Like slipped it in her pocket or something?
Mm-hmm. That was the picture he was looking at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, and there's something on the back of it. Like if you look at the beginning of the episode, there's some drawings on the back of it. And so I'm wondering what could be on that piece of paper, and maybe he gave it to her, and I think, Pirate, you mentioned this when we were talking about it on Saturday, which if he included something that gave her a hint to the future, it would mean that she still went about everything the way it should have happened and still got stuck on the moon knowing, just so she wouldn't mess with space and time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some people have said that they think that the drawings on the back of that picture is Gladstone and Feathery.
Ah. I have to go back and look at it.
Because I think they had like Gladstone's bushy eyebrows.
Okay.
And Feathery's hair.
I did have 2 other questions that this episode brought up for me. So, one, we saw that Donald and Della shared a room in the tower in the front of Scrooge Mansion. So that's where their room was. So did they live in Scrooge's mansion? And if they, it seems clear to me they did, that they grew up in his mansion. Where are their parents?
Well, what's also weird to me, though, is as they're walking to the room, the walls seem kind of shabby and like everything's so dark there. So it's kind of seems strange that it's not all lit up and nice like it is now, too.
Because having just read through the Don Rosa comics, I know that their parents lived in Duckburg, and actually very different than the direction this show has chosen to go, because Donald didn't see Scrooge for many, many years. I mean, he was a kid the first and only time he saw him growing up. Well, I don't know that it was the first, but the last time he saw him growing up, and he kicked him in the tail. And then he doesn't see him again until, Christmas of 47. So it's just interesting that there's that change, and it's just left me wondering where Donald and Della's parents are. Which Frank has spoken to. He said that he knows that they've, written it all out. They've mapped it out. So, but it's definitely a mystery for the show. The other question that I had from this episode, we saw more of Della on the moon at the end. The episode was very, was giving us a lot of clues about stuff about Della. But at the very end, we see her. She's kind of like on a cliff, working. She's built a platform, and she's just out in the middle of the, on the surface of the moon. Whereas before, we didn't really see if she was in something or what. I was assuming she had built some structure, or she was, had found some sort of place to stay, but no, she's out in the open on the moon. So I don't know. I'm thinking magic's going to play, a part in this. Maybe Celine has an area on the moon and she was able to hit that area. It stuck out to me that she's out there, just out in the open.
Well, I think we need to hear more of 12 Days of Christmas by the Launchpad.
Oh, I'll insert that right here.
On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 days of Christmas, 11 planes of flying, 10 days of Christmas, 8 days of Christmas. Oops, forgot the 9th day. 7 samurai, 6 comes after 7.
Lots of Christmas days. 4 Christmas days, 3 Christmas days, 2 Christmas days, and a cartridge of printer ink.
Gah, nailed it!
Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Check us out at DuckTalks.com. You can also go to Twitter. You can find us at DuckTalks. You can email us, ducktalkspod@gmail.com. You can also find us individually on Twitter. I am at Infinirama616.
And I'm at the Pirate Steven.
And you can find me at CCRunner524.
Until next time.
Stay glomp golden.
Night, guys.
DuckTalks is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds or audio clips played on this podcast are the property of their copyright holders.
Yeah, so... Well, I don't want to say yeah, so...
It's contagious. So we had a little bit of a break leading into the latest episode of DuckTales. I think it was totally worth it. What do you guys think?
I love breaks.
Everybody just tuned out, right? Because nobody wants to talk about breaks.
We were on a break. No, it was, we took off last week for Thanksgiving.
But I'm ready to be back. I'm ready to be back with you guys right here behind this microphone talking about some Disney ducks. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
I think Josh said something.
I said, oh yeah, I'm ready. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially since during this mini break of episodes, I did go back. We did have a break in episodes, right? Was it like 1 week?
Yeah, it was like a week for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we got Storkules and Duckburg, and then we had a week, and then last Christmas.
All right, just making sure. because that's what I was originally talking about, and you guys talked about the podcast, and I think it flowed perfectly, but then I got to questioning whether or not there was a break in DuckTales episodes. Anyway, you know what happens to this? Cutting it out.
It's in the bloopers.
That's why the flow sounds so good, because you cut it all out.
I do. I cut it all out. That's why it takes me 4 hours to edit.
The 2-hour recorded podcast is actually 30 minutes.
It's actually 30 minutes. Cutting this out too. Now we've talked too much and I don't know where I stopped.
You stopped about when you were talking about the episode coming back.
Should we just start over?
Sort of. I'm going to. That's where I'm trying. I'm like rewinding my brain. I'm still VHS. Takes a little while to get there. But yeah, DuckTales. No, not but yeah. See, I got to ramble. If I don't ramble, it doesn't work. I think too much. I just got to talk.
I think you should start over with, hey, and Pirate Steven and Josh are joining me today.
All right, if you insist.